Good evening and welcome to the Kashmir Truth. I'm Amritpal Singh. This is a show on which every evening and every morning at 9:30 in the morning and on DD News and 6:30 p.m. In the evening on DD India, we talk about what the truth about Kashmir is, what the real situation on the ground is. We bring you that. But why the need for this program? The need because there is a lot of untruths that's floating around. A lot of vile propaganda, falsehood propagated out of the well-oiled machinery operating out of our western neighbor Pakistan with the objective of destabilizing the region, creating unrest, evoking the anti-India sentiment that emanates out of Pakistan, and that sort of a fake and vile untruth is propagated in a very systematic manner. Let's take a look at first what sort of untruth is floating around that we came across today. Look at this tweet. This is the tweet by a former envoy to Pakistani High Commissioner to India, Abdul Basit. He tweeted the photo of a man claiming to be a photo of a Kashmiri pellet gun victim, but actually it was not to be so. When we probed it, and it in fact became a question, Abdul Basit became a laughing stock. It actually was the picture of an adult star. Abdul Basit soon realized his mistake. He is a smart diplomat. I've interacted with him. He deleted it, but the harm by that time had been done. In fact, Pakistani journalist Naila had tweeted saying that he's become the laughing stock by putting this fake picture. In fact, this star put out a tweet where he said that this is not me. He said that it's you wrongly claim it to be so, and he said I can see pretty well, so I'm not the blind Kashmiri. So Abdul Basit, otherwise a smart, intelligent diplomat, put this out. So it's the sort of vile propaganda that's moving around. Now the BBC and the Independent, which the Independent is a newspaper based out of the United Kingdom, they are sharing the same photos of people with wounds, calling them photos of torture of Kashmiris. 4 days apart, they show a picture. Both the BBC had put that out, and later, 4 days later, Independent newspaper put that out, the Independent. And these are pictures, and in these pictures, the injury marks were different. The truth, when we probed it, it is yet another Kashmir torture lie buster. Journalist and defense expert Abhijit Iyer Mitra uncovered the BBC and English newspaper Independent's lies. Seemed like both the BBC World and Independent found the exact same two guys with the exact same wounds for their fables. They are coming to us. Their torture story seems to be a cooked up piece of fiction. This is what Abhijit Iyer Mitra had to say. So this fake propaganda, not just by verified handles of Pakistan, out of Pakistan, surrogate handles, but of what are supposedly reputed international brands, news brands like the BBC and the English newspaper, the Independent, publish fake falsehood, spread falsehood by publishing similar reports and strikingly similar photos on Kashmir within a span of few days, claiming that the police and the army are torturing. Look for yourself. This is one picture is 4 days before and the other is 4 days later. So that is the sort of sinister campaign that is being played. These are again those pictures. And trust you me, these are not innocent mistakes that are made which are retracted later. This is a concerted campaign with an intention, vested interests, a well-oiled social media machinery, the fake news factory, with a clear objective, with a very clear objective of creating evoking anti-India sentiment, achieving their anti-India objectives, is running behind this. Okay, so that's the untruth floating around. Let's show you shots of the visuals of Srinagar. These are the visuals of Srinagar. Let me not tell you this is the truth. You make up your mind. We decide every day to send out our cameras. The brief to our reporters is just travel on the streets. Just shoot everything, send it to us, we'll put it out. We're putting it up for you. This is what Srinagar looked like on Wednesday. Private cars out on the roads, people walking. Okay, this is what Anantnag looks like today. Make up your mind for yourself. Make up your mind. Decide for yourselves. Is it a clampdown? Is it a curfew? Is it a lockdown? Is the army pointing guns at their heads? And these are pictures from Riyasi, where the Indian Army organized the first army recruitment rally in Jammu and Kashmir after the abrogation of Article 370 and 35A. The 7-day recruitment rally through the Army Recruitment Office in Jammu commenced on Tuesday at Riyasi, and this will continue till the 9th of this month. This rally is being conducted to provide employment to youth from 7 districts, that's Doda, Kishtwar, Rajouri, Poonch, Udhampur, Ramban and Riyasi. These are districts of the Jammu region. Over 29,000 aspiring youth from the region have registered themselves for this recruitment rally. So if the army was that repressive, let's listen into what.
सबसे बेस्ट जॉब है और सबसे अच्छा यह है कि इसके कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स और बिहेवियर बहुत अच्छा है और स्ट्रांग बनता है इंसान, और जिसके कारण सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट यह है सर कि जैसे हम अपने माँ बाप की हिफाजत करते हैं उसी तरीके से हम अपने देश की हिफाजत करना चाहते हैं, क्योंकि सर यही हमारे पूरे एरिया का यही मनोबल है कि हम सारे आर्मी ज्वाइन होकर एक अपने देश और अपने मोहल्ले का बहुत बड़ा डेवलपमेंट करें।
देश के लिए सर इसके लिए भर्ती होना चाहते हैं, देश की सर रक्षा के लिए हम भर्ती होना चाहते हैं।
So, if the army indeed was pointing guns at their hand, it was a brutal war machine, repressive, would 29,000 people register to join the army? You decide for yourselves. And let's tell you what the reality from the other side is. The Srinagar based Chinar Corps commander of the Indian Army, Lieutenant General KJS Dhillon, said that Pakistan is desperately trying to infiltrate terrorists into the Kashmir Valley to disrupt peace. He said on August 21st, 2 Pakistani nationals were apprehended who are associated with the Lashkar-e-Taiba. They are actually Lashkar-e-Taiba terrorists. The Indian Army released a confession video of the 2 apprehended Pakistani nationals. This was on Wednesday afternoon. Take a look.
The Indian Army has arrested 2 Pakistani nationals associated with Lashkar-e-Taiba who were trying to infiltrate into India through Jammu and Kashmir. Lieutenant General KJS Dhillon and Additional Director General of J&K Police, Munir Khan, made these revelations at a press conference on Wednesday in Srinagar. Video confessions of Khalil Ahmed and Mozam Khokar, both Pakistani nationals, were played during the briefing, who were arrested near the LOC in Baramulla district on the intervening night of August 22nd and 23rd.
Pakistan is desperate to infiltrate maximum terrorists into Kashmir Valley. All the launch pads as of now are full and infiltration attempts are being made every day to infiltrate the terrorists into Kashmir Valley to disrupt peace. In one such attempt, on 21st of August, we have apprehended 2 Pakistani nationals, 2 Pakistani citizens who belong to proscribed terrorist outfit Lashkar-e-Taiba were apprehended live by the Indian Army.
As normalcy gradually returns to the valley, restrictions removed in almost all areas of J&K during the daytime. Restrictions were relaxed during the day in 92 police station areas, covering around 93% areas of the valley. Private vehicles were seen plying in different localities. Barricades have been removed from most areas. Landline services and telephone exchanges have been restored in most areas of the valley. Primary, middle and high schools have been reopened. Jammu and Kashmir Police has strict orders to avoid civilian casualties.
Since 5th of August this year, one thing which we have ensured, and touch wood, we have been very successful in that no civil casualty in any law and order action has taken place, and the credit goes to all the forces who are operating on ground, whether it be CRPF, J&K Police, SSB, and so many other forces. Orders and instructions are very clear that we have to avoid any kind of civil casualties, and we are adhering to that. Things are improving gradually, and hopefully things must fall in place and normalcy will return very soon.
There have been a total of 152 significant incidents in the past, let's say, 3 weeks. Now, 100 of these have been in just 5 thanas. Over 125 of these have been in Srinagar alone, indicating that the rest of the 9 districts have seen hardly, if any, incidents.
Even as Pakistan continues with its vile attempts to incite violence, India's reaction has been calm, composed and coherent. India's strategy is to ignore the noise from Islamabad, secure in the knowledge that Pakistan has no real leverage with the Kashmiri masses. Bureau Report, DD India.
So that is Pakistan's agenda. Well, I have with me in the studio Abhijit Iyer Mitra, the man who called out the bluff of the Independent and the BBC. First, for the viewer, tell us when did you catch it, and what exactly was it?
So I've been catching this for the last 2-3 weeks, ever since Article 370 was abrogated, and there seems to be a virtually consistent pattern of half-truths. Sometimes it becomes full lies, like the latest set of tweets that you saw, which were the same. Now imagine the gentleman that you just played right now talks about 125 incidents happening in Srinagar alone, of a total of 150. In the whole of Srinagar and in the whole of Kashmir, out of approximately 7 million people, you're only able to find 2 people that have beating marks on them. And one of those guys has a beating mark that is from a previous day, and then miraculously gets a second set of beating marks on the very next day. And if you imagine, and if you look at the previous set of pictures, there's absolutely not a single scar, not a single stain, nothing out there on the day before, or 3-4 days before. Now, this in itself is a very clear pattern that, the reporter of the Independent at some should have also checked the BBC report from before. He did not do that, he or she, whatever it is. And what it tells you is you've got the same set of stringers who are taking these reporters around, who are specifically asking certain questions. And I've also called out the Washington Post and the New York Times for this kind of reportage. Because the New York Times has been reporting, for example, that there has been increasing criticism of the abrogation of Article 370. Now, if you actually look at any of the government statements that have come out, no country except Pakistan has criticized the abrogation of 370. Right?
In fact, France went to the extent of saying it's an internal matter.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
So this is the kind of thing that they lie about. Washington Post puts out a story saying 5 children are being arrested in the valley. When you actually read the piece, you find out there are 5 children who have been arrested. And I can show you so many pictures. All you have to do is Google child stone pelters Kashmir,
and they're from all over the place. There is Gaza, from Afghanistan,
not just
from
that.
Pakistan itself.
Not just that. If you look at child stone pelters, you will find hundreds of them in Kashmir. Many of them have caused fatalities because if you go to a normal cricket stadium in India, you'll see how good these kids are with throwing the bat and ball and things like that, right? Stones kill people. It doesn't matter if an adult has thrown the stone or a kid has thrown the stone. All that matters is the velocity and the shape of the stone, and it can cause serious damage.
And check out, hit the person, yes.
Absolutely. If it can blind people, it can fracture skulls, completely crush skulls sometimes, depending on the weight of the stone. You've seen the New York Times report where the entire area of the protest was littered with stones. The BBC was claiming protesters marched. Now, here's the thing. This is the falsehood in the thing. Protesters marched implies that it's fundamentally peaceful. They are not referring to the violence that these so-called protesters carried out. And yet in their own video, you can see clear examples of stone pelting, of people carrying straight iron and bamboo rods. Now you tell me something, have you ever gone out in Delhi and just find straight 5.5, 6 foot sticks just lying around? They don't appear. It requires planning to get rods of a certain size and to go out and then assemble, accumulate and then get into this kind of thing.
Abhijit, you've been in journalism for a while. You know, I came across this expression and I really found it, you know, oxymoronic to understand it. Unarmed stone pelters carrying little pebbles. What is unarmed stone pelters? What unless I carry a AK-47, I can't be armed?
See, this is the point. The extent to which these people go to normalize violence, and this was particularly telling because there's an Al Jazeera. You know, Al Jazeera is full of these Pakistani journalists. Pakistan plays a long game. First of all, they give unfettered access to journalists right up to the president, prime minister, army chief, and all of that. So you know, you're dealing with a PR plan of Pakistan that's been in the works for almost 30-40 years now. Now on Al Jazeera, you have these two Pakistanis. They're daughters of army men, generals or something like that, Alia Chughtai and Sana Saeed. Sana Saeed has actually tweeted a thread saying international channels should not focus on the protesters, they should focus on the military cracking down on them, because to not do so equates violence, state violence against individual violence. And you're sitting and thinking this is a law and order operation. Remember, they're not just attacking the army. You've seen recently that these people killed a innocent truck driver. They sliced the throat of two Bakarwal farmers for just going around, the Gujars, sorry, for going around their own work. They've killed a shopkeeper for trying to open his shop. They're destroying, exactly. Look, 99.9 people, and this is not a statistical thing, will in any kind of circumstance try to go on with their own lives. It doesn't matter whether they like the situation or not. They try to make ends meet and they're trying to go on with their lives. These protesters are effectively preventing these people from going on with their lives. And that is the most dangerous thing, that effectively this Washington Post, BBC, Al Jazeera, they're basically acting as the second arm of jihadis of, and remember, even these stone pelters, what is the stone pelting is not as innocent as it seems. First of all, there's the damage stone pelting does, but it's more like cover fire. You know, you keep pelting stones and you get closer to security forces, and when they get close enough, you'll notice with our Jawans, the armor that they wear, it's velcroed on. So what happens is there's always exposed portions here and on the neck. Once they get close enough, they take knives and put it either there or through the armpit, which is almost instant death. So you know, this is a very, we need to be very, very careful when we talk about stone pelters somehow being these innocent, poor kids just coming out with nothing better to do. This is simply not true. And unfortunately, whether we like it or not, all these news channels have only been asking half questions. Why can't you go and ask these people, look, have you been involved in stone pelting? Take the names, go to the police and say, look guys, can you show us records of if these guys have been involved in stone pelting or not? What prevents you from doing that? You're a journalist, aren't you? I mean, it's your job to kind of go ask these questions.
So Abhijit, that brings to my other question. You say there's, you know, there are these common stingers, a few handful of stingers who take these journalists, you know, from Washington Post, New York Times around, and therefore Independent or the BBC, and therefore we see same pictures being used. So is it just, you know, lazy reporters who are not working, or is this a well-oiled machinery? Is there a clear concerted effort to spread falsehood and disinformation?
I think there's a clear concerted effort. Normally I would put this down to incompetence, and let's be very clear that incompetence is very high in all these news outlets. But the second thing is, see, bad news sells. You know, there's that adage about news that if a dog bites a man, it isn't news. But if a man bites a dog, it becomes news. So this is one of those peddling. It's basically conflict entrepreneurship. It's trying to make a profit. And the BBC was so shameless that after they put out the Sora protest, if you go to my Twitter timeline, I've catalogued this. They actually ran an ad. It was their pinned tweet on their official handle saying, are you out of touch with loved ones? Are you worried about the conflict? Tune on to BBC showing images of all this rioting happening in Sora. Now ask yourself, how is that even ethical? You're basically profiting off somebody's death. You're profiting off conflict.
Somebody's misery of, you know, a tragic situation.
Exactly right.
And you're creating, adding to the adding fuel to the fire.
Absolutely, because it
pays you. You make profit.
It pays you,
out of it.
and the problem is it's all half truths. They're not even going beyond a certain thing. They're taken. It's like a curated tour of North Korea where you're taken to see all the brilliant factories. You're not seeing all the famine-stricken people, and it's just curated conflict journalism tourism being sensationalized.
So tragedy tourism really at display. Well, let's look at what is the narrative going on in Pakistan. We heard the Corps Commander of the Chinar Corps says there is an infiltration attempt in Pakistan trying to incite violence. But Pakistan is being true to its promise where they said that they will do everything, use all means, ethical, unethical, right, wrong, to look at to bring up the issue of Kashmir and what they call a sort of annexing by India. There is this another thing going on in Pakistan. The Indian Army is committing genocide there, and in fact their foreign minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi was thinking of taking the matter to the International Court of Justice at Hague, but one of their own, the British Pakistani lawyer Khabar Qureshi, has said that the world largely believes that Kashmir is an inalienable part of India. Speaking on a Pakistani TV show on Pakistan's channel 92 News, Qureshi said that his confession was that the world believes that Jammu and Kashmir is an inalienable part of India. He said that remember this man Khabar Qureshi, though he's a British national, but he's a Pakistani. He made a big confession. He was a lawyer in the Kulbhushan Jadhav case. He said that the world believes this, what India has been saying all along, that J&K is an inalienable part of India. He said there's no point taking it to ICJ. He said it will be very difficult to prove the charge of genocide in Kashmir. And this is a man who's fought cases at ICJ. Khabar Qureshi represented Pakistan in the Kulbhushan Jadhav's case at ICJ. A sharp lawyer. I met him at The Hague, and he said Pakistan's case is very weak on Kashmir. He said this on Pakistani TV. He said Pakistan cannot prove any alleged massacre in Kashmir even if it's thinking of taking it to the ICJ. And the foreign minister, as I said, Shah Mahmood Qureshi, had threatened to take the Kashmir issue at ICJ. I think good sense has prevailed over the Pakistanis. They have realized the man that they paid so much money to find the Kulbhushan Jadhav case, though he lost the case, but he did make very passionate arguments. When I met him, I was quite impressed by the sort of arguments that he had made, and that is what a lawyer's job is, to defend his client. He defended Pakistan as far as he could, but they had a weak case. Now he's telling them, don't again go to this thing, don't make a fool of yourself in front of the international community. They'll throw it out, they'll throw the case out. In fact, he suggested that it might not even be admissible there. So Abhijit, I want to come to Abhijit once. Abhijit, their own lawyer, they had engaged at that celebrated case at ICJ at The Hague. A sharp man, a British Pakistani national, telling them on TV that don't even hire me. You have such a weak case, nobody's going to believe you.
So this is the funny thing. Everything that Pakistan is doing right now is to satisfy its own internal audience. Because if Imran Khan, selected Prime Minister Imran Khan, doesn't throw a big enough tantrum, people are going to turn against the army. So in that sense, the army needs him to scapegoat himself. And he's also willingly scapegoating himself because he knows he can never win an election on his own right unless the army rigs the poll for him. So if you look, even the army, there's actually a hilarious video clip that the Pakistan Army's reaction to all of this on that half an hour standing for Kashmir is. They're actually marching down a road in Rawalpindi shouting Kashmir banega Pakistan. And this is an army that's meant to have guns doing things at the border. They can't even bring themselves to do that. That is how ridiculous this whole thing has become. It's a sad, pathetic joke, and I don't think the Pakistanis even understand what a farce they've made out of themselves. Because no foreign diplomat that I'm talking to is taking them seriously. All they're saying is, this is the tantrums of a kid, let it just die down.
So, given the fact that India is not letting its guard down, we saw the Corps Commander, India is very, very vigilant, not taking this because they know that they might want to, they would want to create trouble there. diplomatically it's not cutting ice. Their own friends from the so-called Islamic Ummah, are calling the Indian Prime Minister, giving him the highest civilian awards, and not listening to them, and their poor ministers have to cancel their visits there, saying that Pakistanis are not trustable workers, the Indians are good workers. So in this situation, what can Pakistan do apart from just fret and fume?
Right. So the funny thing is that the most important country in the GCC, Saudi Arabia, Mohammed bin Salman, has been absolutely quiet. They even refused to comment on the situation. And what is worse, they announced a $75 billion investment, Aramco, into Indian petrol, oil and natural gas refineries, into Reliance. Now, whether we like it or not, however, this is when we have to be the most careful about Pakistan, because there's this saying that there's nothing more dangerous than a cornered rat.
Right.
And this is the standard practice that Pakistan follows, that when it is under severe pressure,
then
it will trigger some serious things in India. And they do this regularly. Because remember, this man has also covered his tracks. Imran Khan has covered his tracks, saying India will do false flag attacks.
He's already
done this. So if anything happens here, he'll just say, India did this to itself.
All right. That's all the time we have for Abhijit. Many thanks for being on the show and sharing your insights.
Thank you.
So as Abhijit argues that India cannot afford to let its guard down, and I'm sure our security forces are taking care of that. But what we Indians, Kashmiris, our brothers and sisters in Kashmir watching this need to be very, very careful about this wild propaganda going on. Sooner or later the restrictions are going to go. This is not here to the internet will work, the mobiles will work. These were only precautionary so that violence is not incited, lives are not lost. So if that is taken care of, things could move in a positive direction. That's it. That's all the time we have for In the Kashmir Truth. Thanks for watching. Namaskar.
Inhabited by large tribal population, Odisha is the home of rich folk tradition and offers a variety of performing arts unique to its culture. And over the years, Ganjam, a small district in this eastern state, has secured a special place in the cultural map of the country for its celebrity folk dancers.